to Perceive Reality. I'm Nadia Atwal. Today we're getting hypnotized. Yes, we have a specialist who actually knows how to improve your life through hypnosis. Book author and our special guest today, Sean Wheeler.
Thank you for having me.
Sean, hypnosis is such an interesting topic because for many people perceive it in the wrong way. How did you discover this field of work for yourself?
Well, oddly enough, I was working in journalism and I would get nervous in front of the camera. So I went to see a hypnotherapist to help with performance anxiety. And needless to say, it worked. And a couple of years later, I abandoned that career in journalism. I was working for CNN and I decided to pursue this as a profession.
Unbelievable. And you were diving deep. You really wanted to become an expert. And you're not just your everyday hypnotizer. You're going in with very special techniques.
Yeah.
Because you have a very high performance clientele.
Correct. So I studied, when I learned hypnosis, I was fascinated because of how much it helped me, meaning it changed my life dramatically. I was so fascinated. For the first time as an adult, I was reading every book that I could find. I was looking for all the information because I wanted to figure out what worked and how to do it. And so I studied hypnosis and NLP, Neuro Linguistic Programming. If there's a hypnotist who's not using NLP, they're kind of in the dark ages. So I'm using the most modern and updated technologies to make people's lives better really fast.
How can you sum up NLP for somebody who has no idea what it is?
It's the study of the structure of subjective experience, meaning when we think, we make pictures in our head, we talk to ourselves with internal dialogue, and we have feelings. And when you break down the components of thinking, you can change and manipulate them to really structure someone so that they can have the kind of experience they want. So when you put good pictures in your head and you have a good voice in your head, then you can create really good feelings. And that's when you can be at your best.
Some people claim they cannot be hypnotized. True or not true?
Absolute nonsense, because everybody goes into what we call hypnosis every day. So meaning when you go into, when you daydream, you're in alpha. You know, so brain waves can be studied. If they hook up the electrodes to your head and they study your brain waves, you'll see a change when you go from a conscious state into an altered state, the alpha state and then the theta state. When you're in delta, that's when we sleep at night. You're not aware of anything. But in alpha and then theta, that's where the magic happens. When you're in those states, you become a better listener. And so when you get good suggestions, they stick.
So how are you helping your clients through hypnosis? What is like a typical client? I'm sure you have a spectrum, but how are you helping your usual customer?
Well, I've worked with, I've had over 3,000 clients over 20 years in my career, and I've had, celebrities, and I've had executives, and I've had all sorts of people. But the through line is that I'm helping them to calm their mind down and to start thinking intentionally. Most people are just thinking reflexively. They're thinking your thoughts are just random for the most part. So when people realize that, oh, I can think on purpose, and I can think about things that are good, or I can focus on things that are productive or useful, and I help people to get rid of all the crap. So they've got thoughts about bad memories, they've got worries about the future. We've got a survival brain that wants us always to be on guard for trouble. And so reining that in so that you can actually enjoy life and, be at your best, that's what I do.
It's a little similar the way it sounds to cognitive behavioral therapy, where people are basically training themselves to not focus, let's say, on pain.
Right.
And they learn to, just kind of forget about the pain, or are able to focus on something that they're not questioning, they're not trying to argue in their head, they just try to focus away from what they're going through.
Yeah, so hypnosis or NLP, these are like taking CBT and putting it on steroids.
Wow.
Because it's a much more streamlined and efficient way. People who do CBT, it takes a long time, and they're talking to themselves and they're writing things down and taking notes, and it takes months or it can take years. Whereas with hypnosis, I can get rid of a phobia in like 10 minutes. I can help someone to change their lives. I mean, I do one session with people sometimes, and after that one session, there is a noticeable and lasting change. So it is the most modern, the most efficient, and the fastest way to get people results.
Do you need people to be in your presence, or do you also do virtual?
I do virtual, but I'll be honest, I tell people, like, virtual can work, virtual can be really good, but in person is even better. There's body language, there's the presence of being able to, for me as a hypnotist, to be able to watch and observe the person as I'm putting them into the trance is extremely important, and also being able to interact with them physically. So you can do it via Zoom, and I've done good work that way, but it works a lot better when I've got a person right next to me.
I'm so intrigued. And you wrote a book. Let's talk about that one.
Yeah, so the book it came from actually through all these years I've been doing sessions with all different types of clients, but there was a certain type of client that stuck out in my mind because the regrets they had really, I found them to be really terrible. So I've had clients who are businessmen, successful guys who were in their 60s, and they would tell me, I regret not spending more time with my kids, and you can't go back. So for all these decades, what they're doing is they're making money, they're focusing on work, and they're actually trying to do the right thing. They're not bad dudes, but that regret, which you can never go back and you can't change it once you're there, that stuck with me because I was a young guy, I didn't have kids when I first started as a hypnotist. And so when I became a father, my daughter's 11, I already knew at that time what I wasn't going to do. I knew that I was going to spend a lot of time with her, and I knew that I wasn't going to have that regret. And so that's panning out. My daughter's 11, she's confident, she does dance, she plays the piano, she performs in public, she introduces me at my live events. An 11-year-old in a room full of 50 strangers, on a microphone in front of the room, confidently introducing Dad. That to me is a testament to what I've learned, which is that confidence for kids comes from the time and attention they get from their parents. So the book is really about getting these guys who are so busy killing it, they're so busy making money that they're kind of leaving behind, they're forgetting about their family, their kids, their relationships, and sometimes their health. So the message is, hey, start creating balance in your life so that when you're older you won't have regret and your kids won't be on drugs, they won't resent you, and you're going to have a legacy that really lasts.
I'm so aligned with your thinking, so I'm glad I did everything correctly, because I always felt if I have children, then I want to spend as much time with them as possible, and I want to be the one shaping them and not have them being shaped just by strangers. And finding the balance of work life and private life, that comes also with some sacrifices, but it's so rewarding, and I think it's such an important message that you are getting out there. When people read your book, what can they learn from it and implement right away? Or is it kind of like a process? There's something that anyone, because it's called the Executive Dad's Playbook. It's written for those guys, but there's a lot of information in there that anyone can benefit from. It's really about being able to tame what I call your survival brain. Everybody struggles with worry, and that's partly what drives men to prioritize wealth so much over health and relationships, because they're so worried about not having enough money. They're so worried about that survival piece that they're like, oh, well, I'll find some time for my kids later on, and I'll find some time to go to the gym later. So for everyone, it's about being able to sort of like detach from that survival reflex and the worry and the anxiety that we get about money and about having enough and the worries about what could happen in the future, being able to tame that so that we can enjoy the present. And so what I help these guys to do, and what I write about in the book, is if you can be at work and focus on work and give it 100% of your attention, but then when you're with your kids and you're reading your daughter a bedtime story, be 100% there. When you're doing that, that's when you're at your best. It's about creating that separation so that you can control your focus. So you're not thinking about work when you're with your kid, you're not thinking about your kid when you're at work. That's the magic spot. I think I need your services because my brain is very scattered very often, and I have 1,000 thoughts in 1 minute. So I guess that is what many people go through. It's just the scattered thoughts, getting distracted from things, not being really able to be fully present in the moment all the time. And I would assume that's also something that's very useful for people at work, what you're teaching. Well, number one, what people don't understand is that, Wayne Gretzky, Michael Jordan, Mike Tyson, Tiger Woods are all known for having used hypnosis to sharpen their game. I didn't know that. So, yes, so that means Tiger Woods was using a mental coach from the time he was a teenager. And it was, he's visualizing hitting the perfect shot, and he's visualizing walking up to the green and the putt goes in, and that's creating a program. So all those who are at the top of their profession, all the Olympic athletes are using it. So people who are in the know are using this because this is like, you can work on your body, but if your mind isn't in tune, then you're going to have problems. So it's like when the best in the world are using this tool to make themselves even better, to become elite, then it's something that the rest of the population kind of needs to catch up to. Fascinating and so educational. Sean, it was such a pleasure having you. I hope you come back and tell us more, because this is a fascinating topic. We just learned a about weight loss through hypnosis or giving up smoking, but I see now there is such a broad appeal. There's so much that you can achieve through hypnosis. It's a power tool.
Thank you very much. I'm fascinated by it, and people that I talk to are always fascinated to hear about it, and there's a ton more to talk about. I'd be happy to come back.
Looking forward. This was another episode of Perceived Reality. Join us next time.